from wherever you are. I'm joining after my Vipassana retreat, and almost an hour ago it got over. So I have a slightly poorer internet connection, so bear with me. Along with me is joining my friend Isabel from Spain. Almost more than a decade we have known each other. We're colleagues at a business school in ESSEC. And she has been prior to this session. We're again catching up briefly. She has been to different places, worked in Denmark, worked in Mexico, and of course, quite extensively in Spain. And as we were joking that now she has taken up a more, I would say, important role, that of a parenthood. So she is also a mother of two kids. I have also two kids, and we were just joking that nothing can prepare her for parenthood, no matter how much of education you go through. And so, thank you, Isabel, for joining for this session.
Thank you, Siddhartha, for the invitation. It's such a pleasure to be here with you after so many years, catching up and sharing what that international experience was for us. So I'm really happy to be here with you today.
Sure, sure. So, Isabel, pertaining to your career choice, area of your career choice, how did you go about selecting that? If you could just talk about, because a lot of us, when we are, let's say, going into the academic program, we struggle with what choices to make, and now there are more and more choices. So, what was your strategy? What was your thinking process?
Yeah, for me, it took me some time. Like, as you know, today I'm a leadership and team development coach. I work with small businesses, mainly here in Spain, that need to develop these skills, right? The skills to grow a team in order to grow their businesses. And it took me some time to land here. I don't want to make the story too long, but as many people, as it was with many people of my generation, we chose a career that we thought that would get us a job when we graduated, but it wasn't a vocational choice, right? And I studied business management. I learned a lot, and it was great. And after my bachelor studies, I started working in marketing consulting, and it was very obvious for me since the beginning that that was not what I wanted to do, that I didn't want to dedicate my time to that, and that interest in psychology, personal development, which has always been more a vocational interest for me, was always there. And even though I like the analytical part of marketing consulting, I was always putting my efforts and my initiatives in developing teams, in personal development, team development. And yeah, I was being some kind of entrepreneur in the organization where I worked. And after 4 years, more or less, I decided to study again, and I did my MBA in Copenhagen Business School. And during the MBA, we started to talk a lot again about career development and what we wanted to do, maybe like in the next 5 years or after the MBA. And that took me again to my interest in people development, also in organizational development. And I got advice from a career coach at the university that helped me to draw a strategy, right? And that included maybe doing my next steps in my career, maybe finding a job related with career development, with organizational development, team development, and in parallel studying coaching, because that would help me more with the one-on-one personal development part of what I wanted to do. And that's what I did. After the MBA, when I graduated in 2015, I started working in organizational development. I started coaching. I started to get my first clients one-on-one, and everything evolved. And the last chapter of the story is that I created my own business, as I told you at the beginning, helping leaders of small businesses here in Spain with this team personal and organizational development. But it's
Okay.
been a journey. It happened along.
Okay, great. What led you to Spain has some of the best, I would say, academic institutions in the world. So, what led you to choose an institution in Denmark? What was the aspect which you're looking through this international
Mhm.
experience?
Well, I chose the MBA in Copenhagen Business School because it has a very strong focus on leadership, on sustainability. Of course, Nordic countries is really strong in sustainability and on entrepreneurship, and that was really what I was looking for. It took me like 8 years after the MBA to start my own business, but I always had that thing inside of one day I would want my own, and that also led me to choose the.
Okay, wonderful. You also worked in Mexico for a while. So, how do you contrast maybe working in Spain and then working in Mexico? And what kind of maybe let's say differences, positives, not so positive things did you observe?
Mhm. Well, I moved to Mexico right after living in Copenhagen, and I must say that it was a shock for me because Copenhagen is a small city, is a quiet city, is really a tidy city, right? And Mexico City is huge. It's not tidy for sure, and it's loud. Like the life in the city is so different. In Copenhagen, I could go anywhere with my bike, and in Mexico, I maybe like something that would take me 30 minutes in Copenhagen could take me 2 hours in Mexico because of the traffic jam. So for me, that was a big shock after being Copenhagen, moving to Mexico. Also, there are other things, right? Like safety in Mexico. Unfortunately, you need to be very aware of where you move alone if you're alone at night. So that was a big shock for me, and for sure, it took me some adaptation. And I think that also because being a Spanish person, maybe I thought that a Latin culture would be more similar to a Spanish culture. And of course, we have some similarities, but there are also some differences, right? And maybe I have to break that mindset to adapt to the Mexican culture. And then those were the things that were difficult for me at the beginning, but then I could also learn a lot of positive things. Something I noticed like very very quickly after moving to Mexico is that people have a very entrepreneurial spirit. Maybe because there are so many options in Mexico. There are so, and I guess it's something similar in many Latin American countries, but there are so many options and it's not so structured. Like the path you may follow and you want to pursue an opportunity, you don't have the structure that you may find in European countries. People just learn to do it by themselves, and that builds a very entrepreneurial mindset, and that is something that I really liked. And also, as a leader, right, when I was working, that was something very useful, and that helped the projects where I work. It helped the projects grow a lot.
Okay, okay. Since you have started pursuing leadership coaching for a while, what
Yes.
have you identified are good leadership traits and why they are important in organizations?
Yeah. In my opinion, and that's only a point of view, right? I think that the leadership conversation is really broad, and that's amazing. But in my opinion, leadership, what we think of leadership is changing. Like the world is changing, and we need different approaches to leadership, how we lead teams, who we are as leaders, and how we lead projects. And I believe that something very important is just to be open and to let go of the all the ideas and beliefs and assumptions that leader is always right, or that as a person your point of view is right, or that is the only point of view. So I believe that having an open mind to other people's ideas and to circumstances is something like really important for leadership at the moment. And for sure, that is something that you develop when you have an international experience, right? Because it broadens your mind a lot. I believe also being able to listen, to truly listen to others with an open mind, is a very important leadership quality. And I would add that it's also very important to communicate, but to communicate from your essence, from your authenticity, not from what you believe that you have to be as a leader, but from what you really think, from your values, from your purpose, and from what you want to inspire in others.
Wonderful. So you mentioned that as of now, within Spain, you have been trying to do leadership coaching with small industries.
Mhm.
So any particular sector of industries you're targeting, or sector agnostic you are doing it?
I'm not targeting any particular sector. It's true that in my that since I have my own business, I am working with um, health with the health industry and with education. These are the type of businesses that I am helping more frequently. But the methodology that I'm using, let's say that the characteristic of the business is more about the size. Like at the moment, I'm working with businesses up to 50 employees, but it's okay with the industry. Like the segmentation I'm doing is
Okay,
more about
okay.
the size than the industry.
Okay, okay, wonderful. So few evidences, examples of where maybe some intervention you did with particular leadership within the organization. How did the benefit? If you could, maybe one or two cases you
Mhm.
could talk about.
Yes.
Be really interesting.
Yeah, like the main challenge that my clients face when they decide to work with me is that they find that the team is a mess. Like people are not committed with the business, they are not proactive, they are always asking for assistance or supervision. And that's a huge overload for the business leader that needs to focus more on the strategy of the business, on the strategy and the strategic aspects of the business. So what we do is that we work in creating a structure and habits, behaviors in the team that leads to individual responsibility. And we do that by defining the team structure, like roles and responsibilities, purpose, goals, standards, values, right? And then we build the routines of the team, like what they do on a daily basis in order to promote that individual responsibility, that autonomy, right? Align to the business purpose and goals. So we do that for 3 months, and like the main benefits that the clients have experimented first is that they have again time for themselves, and that helps them a lot, not only to grow the business but also with their well-being. Because when they come to work with me, they feel they're overwhelmed. So many times they also have health issues because they cannot sleep, they take everything home, it's difficult for them to disconnect from work, and that has an impact on their relationships, maybe with their families, their kids, their friends. So this is the first benefit that they get, and then the business grows, right? And sometimes that has an impact on climate. They see less conflict, more proactivity. People are more happy, people are more engaged with what they do because they have the autonomy, right, to be also their own leaders. And sometimes it results in a better client service, sometimes in more income, And that's interesting to see because only by investing in what you already have, you can get better results.
Sure, sure. Now we are, as I usually like to call it, we are in the age of AI, where of course a lot of technology tools are you can say replacing processes, even increasing productivity. Some cases even the anxiety level of employees goes away. Of course, people who are in the leadership position, they also get affected. So what are your views that in the age of AI, with the advent of AI, more implementation of AI, how things are going to change, let's say with the workforce, with the people's managing their teams?
Yeah, definitely things are changing. And we come from an approach in what has to do with team development, with leadership, with people management. We come from an approach, especially here in Spain and even in Latin American cultures, that is very hierarchical and control based. There's a lot of supervision, there's a lot of bureaucracy, and there's very little autonomy and also little reliance on the people that are part of the team. And that starts not only when you get a job, right? That starts also in school, or how you have been grown by your family, that you are given very little autonomy and have received a lot of supervision, and that's a mindset. And when people work in a business, they carry that mindset. So we have that approach, right? Hierarchical, control based, also with a very strong focus on results and on performance, but performance understood as doing and producing and doing more and more and more. And the challenge is here, and we know all the challenges, right? Like it's more difficult to find talent that fits your business. It's difficult to retain that talent. It's difficult to integrate new technologies, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. And it's difficult to innovate and to stay competitive in an environment that is more competitive every day, day after day. And what we are trying to do, what a lot of small and medium-sized businesses are trying to do, is solve those challenges with the same approach that led us to those challenges, like more
Great.
control, more hierarchy, more focus on doing, and that is not working. And the numbers are there. Like burnout is rising, 9 out of 10 employees are stressed. It's not working. Like the impact on nature, we are also seeing the results,
Great.
right? So we need to change something. We need to change how we approach the situation that we are living. And from my perspective, I believe that something that could help is creating a more open environment for the organization, an open environment that integrates feedback from the outside, also for the people that are part of the organization, and also and especially creating that space where everyone understands the leadership, the impact that they are having, how they can contribute to a common purpose, to a shared purpose and a shared goal.
Agreed, agreed. So, yeah, in all these, probably in terms of now, and COVID was an example where a lot of companies shifted to remote working, and then after COVID, maybe many of the organization, they are just so-called maybe to exert more control. They are trying to bring the manpower to maybe office spaces, and a lot of people are assisting. So what you're saying is it's the so-called, I think, the nature of control. It's also I think percolates everywhere. So in a way, even organizations in America, which is so-called maybe a very capitalist-driven economy and so much innovation happening, but there also the so-called sense of control is there. And probably technology could be something which could maybe mitigate it to certain extent, bring more autonomy in functioning of people.
Yes, you're completely right, and something similar happened here in Spain, but I don't know what you think. It would be also interesting to hear your perspective. But I think that if you want to create an open organization where you don't need that much control, or you want to give more autonomy to people, you need to start working with yourself, and that's the very first change that you have to make. You need to start trusting yourself, trusting others, knowing and feeling that there are other ways of doing things than you. That people that are part of your team are responsible adults and you can treat them
Agree,
as such, and you need to start, yeah,
agreed, agreed. So
you need to
I
start
quite
changing your.
yeah, agreed. I quite agree with what you said. And Vipassana is one practice which, of course, helps people get more and more control, more you can say, understanding about individuals. So I perceive it has a lot of relevance in the management style. And as you rightly said, that
Mhm.
the employees are working, they're responsible adults. Maybe once or twice they may make mistakes, but you have to let them make mistakes. Otherwise, there is no innovation. You can't be very having a very watertight method that okay, zero or maybe fault. Then innovation won't happen, because the more experiment happens, the more people maybe let's say get to learn from those experiments, the better maybe products would come. And even organizations
Mhm.
like Google, which have been in existence for so long, Facebook, I was just a week ago, I saw that their Instagram, at least in the specific geography in India, Instagram, Facebook were down. Even Twitter was down when, since the time maybe Elon Musk took over, and even prior to that. So in best of the systems, it is not that they are zero, they are error free. So I quite agree that trust needs to be built on subordinates.
Exactly. Yes. And it's so interesting that you mentioned Google, and that you're coming from that Vipassana retreat, because also Google, they have a really mindfulness and emotional intelligence program for their employees. It's called Search Inside Yourself. And I believe the basis, like, you do not, you, of course, you need to trust yourself and others, but you need to trust that you need to feel this happening around you. You need to accept it. Somehow we need to understand that human beings, that is a lot that is out of our control. And we cannot control it, and it's going to waste. And I'm not saying it's easy or that it's comfortable, but there are ways to learn to be comfortable, or at least not reactive, not non-reactive, when all that is happening around us. And I believe that what we create is a reflection of to create a safe organization, with a safe environment, with a creative environment where people feel engaged and where people are proactive and committed and participate. We need to start making a big change in our mindsets and in our behaviors. And probably we have not been grown. We come from a world that was as it was before, but the world has changed. So probably we also need to train, and to do our part of the job, right? To change, to start that change. But we need to start with ourselves and to understand that it doesn't matter your job title, you have an influence. Because sometimes, like the leadership role, it goes with the title, but I believe every person of the organization has an impact. So we are all leaders. So we all need to ask ourselves, what's my part in everything that is happening?
Agreed, agreed. Very beautifully put. A lot of enlightening views. So, Isabel, given you have so much of experiences in different geographies, being having academic experience as well as work experience, how do you feel? What is your present view? And I find it much more very interesting and very, I would say, mature and enlightening. How has it contributed to you as a person? in maybe getting where you are. That is one. Second, in case you have to suggest people who are going, let's say, for academic experiences or even for, let's say, work in a different geography, what are few things which they should keep in mind so that they could make most out of those experiences?
Mhm. Well, I think already having the experience is going to help you grow. And um, I think it's good to take it from curiosity. Like not everything is, especially if you're going abroad, not everything that you are going to leave, it's going to be as it was back home, or maybe you are going to find something that challenges your beliefs and your values. But I think it's good to be curious about it and to ask yourself, okay, what can I learn from this situation? What can I learn from myself? How can I understand the context of this situation or this person? And only from that you're going to take a lot. So that would be my first recommendation. And you can do it this way, no, from that openness and from that curiosity. But sometimes you may also feel more resistant, no, and maybe try to close yourself or to reject something that is happening around you because you don't think it has to be like that and it's wrong, and the way they do it at home it's better. I think you're also going to learn from that. Maybe it's going to be a bit more difficult and a bit more challenging, but I don't know, maybe not at the moment, but maybe later you will realize that maybe there was something you were wrong, or maybe not, but it's also going to be a learning experience.
Agreed, agreed. So openness to accepting maybe changes or things can be in a different way. Because usually when we are used to a certain
Yeah.
kind of thing, we tend to focus, okay, let's not experiment others. And one aspect which I can always talk about is food. So when you experiment different
Yeah.
kind of foods, of course, people are used to eating one particular kind of thing, but say for example, now foods are globally available. So in case I have to talk about India, you get pizza, you get a lot of Mexican foods, you get a lot of even variety of South Asian foods within India, and people are kind of like it very much. So along with food, as
Mhm.
you yourself talked about, being in Mexico and then seeing people's more entrepreneurial nature and even not so structured thing. Also, I think could have would have built a lot of perspective about, okay, things can work in different way also. So rather than maybe let's say going A B C D, there might be different ways and means to also do things. So that also brings in, I would say, some
Mhm.
sense of curiosity, and in turns that also could lead to some innovation. So very, very beautiful put. Yes. So that, yeah. Okay. So we are at the end of this session. Thank you, Isabel, for joining us. Thanks all who watched this session.
Thank you, Siddhartha. It's been a pleasure to share this interview with you and to see you again after so many years. And I think it's great that you are in this conversation and creating this space for people that may be thinking about follow a career path. And I believe um, your experience and your network can really add a lot to the conversation. Very much.
Sure. Thanks. I'm just stopping the live stream. You remain there.